another episode of the Freelancers Mindset Shortcast. It's so nice that you have clicked on this video because we have somebody very special with us today. Say hello to Muskan, somebody I met during my time at Toastmasters. From being someone who had stage fright herself, she has now become a public speaking coach who has trained over 20,000 people. So, how did that journey begin and how important is communication for a freelancer? That's what we are going to learn in today's episode. Hey Muskan, welcome to the call.
Thank you so much, Meenakshi, for inviting me. I'm so glad we are doing this. I've heard and even seen your podcast. It sounds really fun. So I'm really excited to see how this unfolds.
Thank you for that. So let's begin right there. I remember reading a blog about you where you started off speaking in front of a small group of classmates in school and you kind of had stage fear there, it didn't go well. And then from there, you have now transitioned into the person you are today. So, how did you feel in that moment and how have the moments shaped until now to this moment?
So I'll tell you one thing. When people ask me this, my response used to be, yeah, it's different, it's nice. But I honestly felt the power of this and it sank into me when I went for my Josh talk. So
Hmm.
while I was delivering my Josh talk, I had to speak about my journey. And while I was speaking about my journey, I could see my eyes getting moist because
Oh.
I just felt that little girl, a 6 year, the one who in sixth standard, she became so happy and she has grown up so much. So
Hmm.
that entire transition is something that sink into me when I was giving the talk. Because
Hmm.
that is the moment I was only with myself and I was speaking and I felt, oh wow, I have come a long way. So
Right.
I'll tell a journey in a few words, basically. So I have always been a very talkative child. The only complaint that I used to get from a parent-teacher meeting was she talks a lot. Even if we change her place, she talks a lot. A constant chatterbox. Now what happened is, usually how schools tend to function. If someone talks a lot, if someone scores really well, they are pushed into activities which involve, writing, speaking, the same happened with me. It was a debate competition. I had never been on stage where I had to speak without the script. I used
Hmm.
to do MOC, I used to do a lot of events, but I always had a script. Just read and
Hmm.
speak aloud. That was
Yeah.
very different.
Mm-hmm.
When I went for debate, I was prepped really well. I knew what to speak. I had it in the script. But just that standing in front of so many people without having notes in my hand,
Hmm.
something happened. I could see people, I started shivering and I just wanted to rush. And
Right.
from that day, that fear came into me that, oh, I cannot go on stage without a script. Oh, I
Hmm.
cannot speak on something without having notes in my
Hmm.
hand.
Hmm.
So I stopped taking part in different events.
Hmm.
And how it changed to me that 11th and 12th, I was really sure I want to become a lawyer.
Okay.
I went off to give an interview. Then in interview, it was a pressure test question that you do not have any certificates for debates, for orations. So are you
Hmm.
not interested? And my immediate, like a reflex response was, oh, I'm scared of it. Of
Okay.
course, the interviewers are going to catch that line, right?
Yeah.
And like,
Mm-hmm.
how are you going to fight moot courts? You will have to
Hmm.
speak. And I was quiet. I didn't have an answer. I came out
Hmm.
crying to my dad that I do not want to do law. I am
Hmm.
not doing law.
Okay.
I dropped off. I did not go to law college. I joined BBA. But I
Hmm.
think communication never really leaves you.
Hmm.
No? So
Yeah.
even when I went to BBA college first semester, I had to give presentations.
Yeah.
I had to speak in front of the class. And gradually I realized I have to face it. There is
Yeah.
no running away from it now. And
Hmm.
it is only getting worse. So that's how the transition happened. And today, like right now, we're doing this podcast. I don't even know
Yeah.
the questions you're going to ask
You
me.
told me
It's
not to send you any of the questions. You're
exact,
more of a spontaneous
exactly,
person.
exactly. Imagine. So that is the transition, and it feels unreal. I
Mm-hmm.
feel so grateful, that I have
Mm-hmm.
gotten this privilege and the chance that I can go through this journey. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the feeling is, I don't know. less words to
Yeah.
speak about the feeling.
Exactly. I know. I was reading this book by Murakami called What I Talk About When I Talk About Running. And he's talking about how he became a marathon runner and how everything goes. And he wrote there that even people who have been running for many years who practice every single day, it's a struggle for them to wake up in the morning and practice again.
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah, and the same goes for me as well. I was also a very shy girl. I never used to speak, even if I had a script when I was in school and college. But even today, it's difficult to do that, but you do it anyway because now you know how
Yeah,
to handle it. So it's gotten
correct.
easier, but it still continues.
Yes. The learning always continues because, so as coaches, sometimes we tend to get into this monotonity that,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we're training people, we know, but we're not working on ourselves in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I do, and that's how I keep myself. The part where you told running, where
Yeah.
even that is a struggle. So recently I was participating in a speaking competition. People
Mm-hmm.
felt, oh, it's going to be very easy for her. She's going to just come and
I know,
ace it.
right?
But it was not. Trust me, I had so many butterflies. And the
Mm-hmm.
point is, my friends were like, why are you even participating if you're feeling this? And like, I am feeling this after so long. I want to
Mm-hmm.
enjoy this feeling where I'm getting
Yeah.
butterflies before going on stage. I'm
Yeah.
getting butterflies before I'm speaking. Where else will I get this feeling? I won't get this
Exactly.
feeling in a training session, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is something that keeps me also going in this
Yeah.
process.
So true. I remember even in Toastmasters, I had to attend the contest. And right before the event, I was calling the contest master and I was like, can you tell me how many people are going to be there? Like, are they going to be like 50 people? And he's like, Pirakshi, I didn't know you panic during such events. You seem like you have it together. I was like, no,
Exactly,
it just means
exactly.
I'm good
No,
at hiding it.
yeah, yeah. There's one part deep inside, that comes out
Yeah.
in these
I know, like,
situations.
how many people are going to be there? Like, I can't even visualize what it's going to be like in my head.
Correct.
So my mind is
Yes.
like, let's try to figure out what it's going to be like. So those
Yeah.
are the things I panic about. But speaking on that line, how important do you think communication is for people? I mean, there are some people, I know some of my friends who have to take deep breaths before they make a phone call for work. Every single call they make, they need to take a moment before they do it. And for other people, they look like they are so natural at it, but they also have an internal struggle. So, despite all of this, how important is communication for people?
So if I had to say it in a single line, I would say communication is a life skill. We
Hmm.
need we need swimming to survive in water. So we need communication to survive nowadays in this world, in this era.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I take about college students, for example, freshers, you all have gone to the same college, you have gotten the same degree. What sets you apart is the way you sell yourself, is the way you
Mm-hmm.
communicate, is the way you express whatever you know.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to help you stand out. In school, nowadays, the kids, I deal with kids also. So nowadays, the kids that are being born, that are coming up, everyone is so good. They're
Yeah.
exceptional in what they are doing. So for them, again, communication makes them stand out. I have trained people who are in corporates, who have been in the same job role for like 20 years. They've reached the highest position.
Mm-hmm.
However, they still take training for communication. Why? Because they feel, Muskan, I know my technical skills. I know what I want to say. But the point is, when I try to speak, sometimes I speak so much, I cannot keep it brief. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I cannot understand what the other person is speaking. I don't know how to talk to my subordinates. It feels more of like an order than, normally like a request. So,
Mm-hmm.
how do I navigate these things? So
Mm-hmm.
I think every age goes through some phase of communication help that they need or that they
Mm-hmm.
want to master. Now, what you mentioned about some people taking, deep breaths before even making a phone call, I must tell
Mm-hmm.
you that's very noble. And post COVID, I have seen this tendency more because
Mm-hmm.
during those times, people who were really introverts, who would not like to speak, they did not make any effort to go out, make
Mm-hmm.
phone calls, and talk to people.
Yeah.
So that tendency of them socializing has become so low now that for them, even a phone call is difficult. But for
Mm-hmm.
some people, They might be very nice and open, and they're able to communicate really well. But
Mm-hmm.
for them, there might be some phases in which they are struggling, probably in a relationship where they might
Mm-hmm.
be very good in communication with everyone else, but in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship, they're not able to express
Yeah.
really well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think every person has some or the other way where they are struggling with communication in different phases, different situations. So
Mm-hmm.
communication as a whole is so important, because till the time we are not able to express what we are feeling, I don't think people really are able to read minds or read between the
Yeah.
lines now. It's very,
Mm-hmm.
everyone is very busy in their lives, right? So
Mm-hmm.
communication is the only thing that can, take you forward.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I mean, I was also thinking when you were saying all this that when people talk about communication, they only talk about what they say out loud. There's so much non-verbal stuff as
Yeah,
well. Like,
so many
yeah.
things.
Like I remember one of my colleagues at my full-time job when I was working in corporate, he used to tell me that every time he's in a meeting, he used to sit back like this, and every time he's making a point, he would clap his hands just to emphasize that point. And he thought it's such a
Yes,
power move on his side. But others used to feel like he's mansplaining, he's taking too much space, he's being dominating. So I
correct.
think having that sense of non-verbal communication is equally important as what comes out of your mouth.
Everything. I mean, non-verbal communication from your end, non-verbal communication from the audience end, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
if you're giving a presentation, how people are responding. So
Mm-hmm.
reading all of that is also a form of communication. What people think communication is only doing public speaking, giving
Yeah.
presentation. No, that is not public speaking. That's a subset of,
Mm-hmm.
communication. There is so much more. Even how we dress up, that is also a form of communication. That is
Okay.
communicating something. If today I go to an interview where I am dressed up in neon shirt
Mm-hmm.
and maybe like a black pant. But that neon shirt, a first impression for that person is communicating. Probably this person didn't read the room, or probably this person is not really serious, because that's the impression about a color that is in the
Mm-hmm.
audience. And it is very normal for people to think this way. Another way of communication is time. If today you reach late to a venue, what are
Mm-hmm.
you communicating? You're communicating you are
Yeah.
not punctual, you are not serious. So,
Mm-hmm.
all these are very, very small observations, but these are communication. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily you always have to speak for communicating. There are
Mm-hmm.
other ways also. I remember there's this video I show in my class in
Mm-hmm.
which there's a little girl, okay? There's an experiment done on her by UNICEF. So this girl is dressed really well, very, put, cute hat, cute dress, hair combed really well. And then she is left in a mall, in the food
Okay.
opera. So everyone around is going, "Oh, what's your name? Oh, you are so cute. Please have fries." Everyone, literally everyone. Cut to 15 minutes later. Now she is dressed into tattered clothes,
Mm-hmm.
shabbily dressed, she's put on marks, hair all shabby, there's no hat. Again, she's put into the same set of audience, the
Mm-hmm.
same mall. This time, people are just shooing her away. Go away. Guards, please take her. Why are you sitting here? Get up from here.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine the same girl. She did not even open her mouth to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
But our clothes communicated. Her clothes communicated. How she was dressed communicated. And we might know that we should not do this, but 90% of the people don't. They always react, they don't even respond, they react based on the first impressions. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very important to understand what we are communicating basis on different things nowadays.
Right. I think that's
Yeah,
so interesting. The study you said as well. I really love experiments like these because rather than you explaining everything in the class, this is something interesting that people can see and make their own
exactly.
interpretations. I think that's so
Exactly.
fun. So now let's take a bit of a step back. You have just had this experience and you have decided that you can't step away from public speaking any further. At what point did you decide to make this your career and what were the next steps for that? How did you find opportunities? How did you build from the ground up?
So very interesting. I would say COVID was the boon for me.
Okay.
I was studying in college. I was doing a lot of Toastmasters, of course. I was attending meetings here and there. I was training people under Toastmasters. And then COVID happened. I was in my final year of college. I just had my farewell. And I was back to my hometown, Siliguri. Now, Siliguri is a very, very small town. I mean to say it's developing in West Bengal. Okay,
Hmm.
and it is on the foothills of Darjeeling. People know Darjeeling, people don't know Siliguri. That's
Right.
where I belong from. And for me, of course, it was a big opportunity to be in Pune already for education. And now I had come back for 15 days to my hometown just because people were like, oh, it's going to close down and everything. So I just come 15 days. And after that, I never went back to Pune.
Hmm.
Because in those 15 days, everything got locked. I had gotten a job at Teach for India. They were inviting me to come and join Ahmedabad, but I was a little skeptical. My parents were a little skeptical, to leave everything during COVID and move to another city, Ahmedabad, where I've never stayed. So I deferred my joining for a year. Now I have deferred my joining. So for 1 year, what do I do? I had option of joining my family business, but I was never interested in my family business. Otherwise, I would have been a fashion designer today.
Right.
But I was never interested. So what I was doing during those lockdown period, I was only attending Toastmasters. In a
Hmm.
day, I was attending more than 4 to 5 meetings
Okay.
around the world. Around the world. So while this happened for the first 2 months, a cousin of mine had come to Siliguri. She just randomly told me, Muskan, if you like public speaking so much, I see people around nowadays starting career and teaching people. Why don't you do the same?
Hmm.
Now, it seemed rather ridiculous to me because I had never thought of, this direction. So I
Hmm.
thought, okay, I could give it a try. I love teaching. Since childhood, I have always been teaching my friends a day before the exam. They used to be in my house and I'm teaching them rather than studying. And I used to always score well because I feel teaching is one way of learning very well.
So
So I
true.
was, okay, let's experiment. So who are the guinea pigs? My house children. So
Right.
everyone from both the sides of the family, everyone below 10, I told them, oh, this is the thing. Let's join on a Zoom call. I will take my first masterclass.
Hmm.
And it was a masterclass for 2 hours, and I had a lot of
Right.
activities because since I have learned public speaking from the ground up, I sort of knew what people struggle with. I sort of knew
Hmm.
that, okay, if a child is in class six, which I was, I knew what I did not know at that point of time and what would I
Hmm.
is something really well if someone taught me. So I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, I did a free masterclass. Now, I did not expect, my uncles, my aunts to call me and tell Muskan, why don't you start classes? After the
Hmm.
masterclass, around 10 people told me that Muskan, we would want our children to join your course. Now, I had no plans of that because I had only done a masterclass. So I
Right.
was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I created a curriculum. We had 8 sessions. And, miraculously, they did really well. And I could see transformation for a child who was not able to stand up and speak properly, was delivering like a 3 to 4 minute speech. Now,
Hmm.
that something I knew that, okay, this is working. I understood that.
Hmm.
So I was
Hmm.
like, okay, let me just tell these people that if they have some other people who want to join, I'll just circulate a flyer. I opened Canva, made my first
Okay.
poster, and from all the videos that I had taken from the Zoom class, I went to InShot, made small clips. And
Hmm.
on my birthday in 2020, I launched my first Instagram page and all of that.
Oh, cool.
And uh, so word of mouth worked really well. So those 10 students who had done, their friends joined in. And along the way, I remember with 10, I started training 3, 3, 4 batches every single day. One
Hmm.
hour each. While other people were saying they're getting bored and they don't have anything to do in COVID, they're watching series. I had so much to do. I mean, I had so much on my plate that I was like, okay, what else? What else? Should start delegating work.
Hmm.
That was So I was training people online. I did not do any marketing. I used to just, whenever the batch used to get over, I used to
Mm-hmm.
pick up testimonials, post on my WhatsApp and my Instagram. People started coming in. Then my friends casually told me, Muskan, why don't you start content creation? I was like, content creation and me, I can't really dance on reels and stuff. No, that is not my thing.
Right.
And then they showed me few videos of people like Divas Gupta, Praveen Madalkar, you
Hmm.
know, Coach Aman Shukla, that they were Variku, we have Variku, Raj Shravani, that they were making these sitting videos
Hmm.
that they were talking to people. I was like, I'll give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing that and I did the challenge where every week I used to put 3 videos. So
Okay.
those videos started garnering a lot of views. And then
Hmm.
people started, texting me on Instagram that how do I enroll? What is the procedure? So I got a lot of my first clients through honestly Instagram. Then
Oh,
I
cool.
got active on LinkedIn a little bit. So
Mm-hmm.
all of these were like all group coachings for kids. And I was only targeting for kids because I thought, how will I train people twice and thrice my age?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I started getting the first few opportunities. And then while posting on LinkedIn and Instagram, there were a few institutes who reached out who wanted the students to be trained. I would not say everything was hunky dory and every month, I had a
Yeah.
consistent income. No, it was not. It was not that. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, I had my struggles. My parents were very, you know, I mean, say they were very confused at what I'm doing with my life. Is it this what I want to do? Because some months I was earning really well,
Mm-hmm.
and some months I did not really have a lot of income.
Mm-hmm.
Even despite staying at home, my parents felt that is this like a career for you? So now I understood then that I had to upskill myself. Only knowing public speaking will not be enough. I will
Mm-hmm.
have to train myself more to understand how do people think, what is their mindset, to get better results out of them. So
Mm-hmm.
then I got my NLP training done. I got my soft skills training done. I got image consultancy training done. All these trainings help me connect with a lot of people, help me, open perspectives, because when I am working in a small box, I can only think, whatever
Yeah.
is there, I can only see that. Once I did these trainings, I had an expanded perspective. I
Hmm.
met people who told, why don't you try a different way of approaching public speaking? Why don't you make levels out of
Hmm.
it? Why do you want to just finish the course? Why don't you hold on to your clients and give them, upsell them something else? So
Hmm.
gradually I learned all of that. And that's how
Mm-hmm.
the transition became from, not knowing what to do to becoming a
Right.
public speaker.
I think that's so cool because the point where you said COVID is the reason why the whole shift happened,
Yeah.
I would say the same. I was a journalism student, and at that time, back in 2020, I was so clear I either want to win a Pulitzer with my news articles or I want to go into publishing. I want to work in Penguin Random House since I love reading books.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
wanted to
can
get
see.
into, yeah, I wanted to get
Yeah,
into book publishing. Had COVID not happened, I would either be in publishing or journalism right now.
yeah.
But the reason why I even came into marketing is because right during my final year exams, COVID started, and then it got delayed by an entire like 6, 7 months. And
Hmm.
since journalists are frontline workers, I couldn't find any
Correct.
jobs as well. That's why I was getting into this company. I thought I'll work there for 3 months and then I'll get out and then I'll also finish my exams by then. But then I kind of got Stockholm syndrome and I just stuck in it. And only because I worked at that company and I had the privilege to work with so many departments was I able to come out as a freelancer and do those things by myself.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. So
So I
only
think
when I
COVID
came.
made me
Yeah.
slow down and really analyze what I really wanted, honestly. And I'm so
Mm-hmm.
glad I did that. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe I would have done this same thing 10 years down the line. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
so glad, fresh out of college, I just knew what I
Yeah.
wanted.
Yeah.
And that is something that a lot of people do not know. When
Mm.
they work for so many years, at the age of 40, 45, they realize, oh, I don't want to be in corporate. Oh, I want to be a
Right.
freelancer. Oh, I
I
want to start
totally
my
get
own
it.
business. So it feels honestly like a God's child thing, like God sent me this thing
Hmm.
that no, this is your thing. You have to go for this.
Hmm.
So yeah.
I love that, honestly. I often call this a small, like, butterfly effect. Like, COVID was a small butterfly effect, which has changed the entire direction that my life went
Yes.
in after that. So, yes, it's so nice to hear somebody else saying something similar. I think COVID was a big turning point for a lot of our lives.
A lot of people, a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm down to my last two questions for you. My first one being, what's next in the pipeline? I think you told me you're writing a book now for kids,
Yeah.
which is something so exciting. Tell us more about that and what else is in the pipeline.
So now since I have been training for so long and I'm almost around kids a lot of times,
Hmm.
because in Siliguri when I'm running my branches, these are only for kids. For the adults, I only do like online or one-on-one sessions. So one thing I've realized with kids that the transition that the batch that comes up every single year is very different than the previous batch.
Yeah.
They're smarter, of course. They're more
Mm-hmm.
intelligent, of course. But also, I felt that the way of teaching them has to be changed. So
Yeah.
that's when I realized that they like, knowing things in a different way. So it
Hmm.
hit me that why don't I write like short storybooks for them? So the
Hmm.
first book I'll be launching in the next 1 or 2 months. It's called Ahana and the Kindness Key. So it's a series of
Awesome.
9 books, basically. Um, in that book, basically, there's one value that I've picked up that I
Hmm.
want the children to imbibe. And there's this protagonist that's common in all the books. So
Mm-hmm.
that protagonist is going to face situations in life which makes the child understand the value of this particular thing. So it's all about different values I have picked up: punctuality, then kindness, then
Hmm.
discipline, then peer pressure, bullying,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
everything that we want or do not want in a child. So that is
Mm-hmm.
something that is the next in pipeline for me.
Awesome. And you're having an illustrator illustrate all these books for you?
Yes, yes.
That's so cool. I think there's a very important thing that kids need to learn, and the way you're presenting it to them makes it sound so cool. I'm sure I'm going to buy these books and add them to my collection.
Thank you, thank you. That makes me feel so nice already.
I know, right? And actually, when you were telling me about how kids these days know exactly what they want, I completely agree. I was at this institute a few months back, and there I was taking a session on public relations for some students, and I was training them with my PPT. It was a 2 day session. I just taught them everything. And then at the end of the session, I asked them, what can I do better during tomorrow's session? And they literally told me, please give us more real life examples. They literally told me this, the reason you have been brought in is because all of our professors here are not specialists in PR. They can just teach us theoretically. But the reason you're brought in is because you do this every day. So don't give us
Exactly.
examples like look at Apple's campaign, look at Lenovo's campaign. Give us what you have done. We want to know the process behind the scenes of what you have done. That's why you have been brought in. So the second day was drastically different to day one. Day one was theory, day two was entirely practical because they told me that's what they want. So
Correct.
I think that's so important because when I was in college, even if I knew what I wanted, I would just nod my head and say, yeah, yeah, it's really good.
Yeah,
Awesome
and
session.
we would never open our mouths to, tell the truth. We
Yeah,
would crib about it, we would discuss with our friends, but we never would have thought that we'll speak
yeah.
to the professor. Like right now, I'm a visiting faculty at one of the colleges in Siliguri. So more than teaching them, I need to prep myself before going.
Hmm.
Because I need to be thorough with what I'm going to train because I know they do not want theory. They
Yeah.
want something that can be realistically used by them.
Hmm.
So, yeah, that's the thing with the upcoming generation now.
I know, and I think it's a good thing that's happening because we have a
Yeah,
better
yes,
idea what
yes,
we are supposed to do.
yes, yes, 100%, 100%.
Awesome. And my last question before I let you go, suppose say you're meeting a younger version of yourself for coffee. Maybe the sixth standard version of you have just met her for coffee and she's asking you a few questions like what's going on? This is so scary. I don't know what I'm doing in my life. What kind of conversation would you have with her? What kind of heads up would you give her for what's to come?
I think the first thing I'm going to tell her is don't just keep planning, do
Hmm.
it,
Mm-hmm.
execute. Because when we start planning, we are only in our head. We
Hmm.
start thinking of every con that can come up. And we waste so much time in planning, that the right time of execution fades away. So I
Yeah.
will just tell her that don't plan too much in life, you know. Just go for it. If you want to do it, just do it. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to fail at it, right?
Yeah.
But you know right then and there it's not working, and you start moving on to the next thing. But if you
Hmm.
keep planning for 5 years, and then you do it and then you fail at it, imagine the heartbreak, the struggle that you're
Yeah.
going to go through to just
Mm-hmm.
overcome it, and you have lost the precious so many years and time, the particular thing. That's the
Mm-hmm.
first advice definitely I want to
Right.
give her. Second is connect with people. I
Hmm.
mean, we might think, oh, that we know so much, but talk to people, connect with people, because that opportunity that we have as human beings is so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, what we might have a lot of questions we don't have answers to, and we're
Yeah.
hesitating to ask to other people. But sometimes when you're talking to someone, there might be a situation where they are telling a story of theirs that might become a life lesson for you. You
Mm-hmm.
never know that. So
Yeah.
don't be only in your space and, be like, oh, okay, I know it. I don't want to meet people. No, meet people, network with people, try to make connections. And third, be close to your friends and family. That's ultimate.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing without friends and family, because
Definitely.
how much ever you rush in your career, how much ever work you do, you would want someone to be in your triumphs and
Hmm.
your low days. And
Yeah.
that time you would need your family and friends, and there is no one beyond that. So
Hmm.
just, be very, very close and tight knit with them. So yeah, I think I'm going to talk about
Right.
only these three things, that nothing else.
I think that's really cool, and I agree with all three of them. The point about having your friends close is something I also push in my book as well, where people think when they get started on something, they have to make a bunch of contacts and network and go out of their comfort zone. You can start with your inner circle, like how you
Yeah,
just open
always.
your laptop with the kids you know and the families you know. You just started, and that grew to more referrals. Keep your friends close, and that inner circle is your first base of audience. So
Exactly.
100% agree with that. And with that, thank you so much, Muskan. Thank you for taking so much time out for us. And thank you to everybody who's been watching till the very end. I will definitely link all of Muskan's details in the description so that you can reach out to her with any other questions you have. Thanks so much for joining till here, and see you in the next episode. Thank you, Muskan.
Thank you, Meenakshi, for having me. It was wonderful.